Hello there, guys. Welcome back to another live stream. Sorry we kept you waiting. Busy people doing busy things. You know what it is. But it's going to be worth the wait. Me and Ahsan here are here to chat about all the rumours that have been breaking over the last 24 hours, last 12 hours, I'd say, actually. It's been absolutely crazy in the Manchester City space. So, of course, alongside me is Mr. Ahsan Naeem, the connected one, the 9321. Hello, Ahsan. How you doing, man? You
Morning.
Good morning.
Really
indeed.
good. I'm really good. I'm going to start by saying this. I've had a really good week, like professionally in my real job. Yeah,
You're killing it, mate. You're killing it.
I was exchanging WhatsApps with Lloyd from our pod yesterday, and I said to him, I said, the only thing that could top this week off is if I wake up on Friday morning and find that City have signed Harry Kane. Now, that's not what's happened, but it's close enough for me to wake up and go, oh my days, that's amazing.
It's definitely it's hotting up. I think there's so much noise around this over the past 12 hours. A lot of it contrarian, but there's so much noise that there's a flurry of activity that suggests some shit is going down. But anyway, we're obviously going to go into all that today. I want to say, don't forget to check out the 9320 podcast. It's fantastic. Ahsan, of course, where the lads will be doing a breakdown of this in more detail than you'll get on here as well. Obviously, go and check out the 9320 players. A link in the description below, and at 9320 pod as well on Twitter. Go and give them a follow over there. In future, actually, I'll put the ats on the screen. I'll write it down so
Nice.
people know where to go find it. I never thought about doing that until this second, but I'll do that. Actually, though, what you could do, mate, if you wanted to, I'm doing this live on air now. You could probably change your name, and I'll put the names on screen to the at 9320 so that you'll actually show it. So show display names now. They'll be on there. You put that so it's a constant push towards it.
How can I change that?
I'll
do it next time.
If you click
Fine, I'll do it next time. I'll do it next time. But listen, very
name.
Quickly, we've done
I've done it for you.
You done it?
At 9320 pod. I should be able to do it now. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Lovely. I've literally just finished doing a pod with Sam Lee for the 9320 player, which is if you remember, it's well worth a listen. Sam was, as always, very, very interesting on the stories from last night. Go.
So I want to say hello to everyone as well, by the way. Hello to everyone in the comments. There's already 600 people watching live, which is pretty much insane. And there's also been a super chat, which we'll get through the super chat first from Sterling Silva. Get that out of the way because he's kind of not really linked to the topic of the video, but he kind of is at the same time. Morning, chaps. I hope you're both well. Do you think it'd be such a shame if Chelsea signed Haaland for the same kind of price that we paid for Kane? What I would say is worry about that later, maybe. You know, if that comes to fruition, I would say worry. That's my personal opinion. Look, I want Haaland. We all know this, but at the same time, Kane would also do an awful lot of wonderful things for Manchester City if it comes to it. But that's how I feel. Yourself, Ahsan?
Yeah, I mean, look, if I had a straight choice between Haaland and Kane, I think everyone knows I'd pick Haaland, but I think Kane is world class, and I think that one thing that I do think is a little bit over exaggerated is the idea that like Haaland is Ronaldo or Messi, and that, you know, if City don't sign him, then that's just really terrible. I just don't like football is a team sport, and I just, you know, I can't get that hysterical about another football club signing another footballer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, someone just said my audio is out of sync on the thing, so I'm changing my webcam. Is that better? That is better. That looks better. There we go.
Yes.
Sorry about that, everyone. It's much better. The webcam went a bit delayed there. I'll change the camera. But anyway, let's get to actually why we're all here. Because if you've been paying any attention to City Twitter or whatever, the news over the past 12 hours, there's been loads going down. Sensationally last night, it came from the showbiz editor at The Sun, usually writing about Love Island and all that kind of stuff. Actually hearing a little bit of news about Harry Kane, and it's from Clemmy Moody, who doesn't ever write about football, but she heard, allegedly, by a source at Harry Kane's brother's wedding, so Charlie Kane, that Kane was the best man, and for some reason was like, I'm signing for Man City. I don't know, obviously it wasn't quite as simple as that, but like apparently he was saying like he was talking about how excited he was at the wedding to be going to Manchester City. Now, me and Ahsan have probably both spoken to people as well and heard various things as well. I know I have personally. I know Ahsan probably has as well. I don't know if he was, but either way, I've been asking around a little bit as well, and so on, and Joyson has, but it seems like there is something in this. It seems like it isn't entirely untrue. I don't know how much the stuff about 160 million is true. Probably isn't, if we're being honest. And I wouldn't expect the showbiz reporter to have the insane, intense technical details of a transfer. But it's such a weirdly specific rumor that it did make people go, all right, that's strange. Why has it come from this person all of a sudden? What was your reaction personally to that rumor coming from that source in the way it was worded?
I think the big thing is that it's on the front page of the Sun, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is that football writers, football journalists, they have a vested interest in telling football stories, right? They'll have pressure from editors and all that sort of business, especially in the summer. And so because of that, football journalists will take anything and run with it. And that's not a dig. That's just like, that's the nature of the beast. Wherever you get information from, if you can a little bit stand it up, you're definitely running with it. If you're the showbiz editor for the Sun, you've got no pressure to write that story. The story is not, it's not something that your editors are looking at you to bring. And you've got no, like, it ain't making or breaking your career. So it's just my humble opinion, right? If they've gone with that story and she's written it, and when you read it, the detail is very detailed. Honestly, sounds to me like she was at Charlie Kane's wedding. That's my vibe sitting here right now. That would be the logical reason for her being so sure of certain facts. Because, for example, the story being that,
going to the wedding or something like that and be like, well, by the way, when I was there, does anyone know anything about Harry Kane? Apparently he's playing for Manchester City. What? You know, like, get it on the front page now. It sounds so bizarre, but you probably go on, carry on. You were saying,
no, I have the impression that things like he was really happy because Daniel Levy has let him go. He was informed last week. His team were told last week that they would let him go. The showbiz editor for the Sun, I just don't see what they've got to. Why would they need to make that up? And I know there'll be loads of comments that, well, it's the Sun. They make loads of stuff up. That's not my point. My point here is for them to stick that on the front page and to stick the showbiz editor's name on it, and for her to go that far out on a limb with a story that big. I think she's got it from a very good source. And you can maybe confirm this for me. Is it true that her and Charlie Kane follow each other on Instagram?
I know he follows her. I don't know the other way around, but yeah, I mean, I've not checked, but I saw it all over Twitter. What I will say, and I'm playing devil's advocate always, because I think some people would ask the same question. And I don't know, or I don't think it ultimately cares. So, but what I will say is, like, she's not someone within this space. I think that she is. No. It's very possible that she's also a gossip reporter. So some people would turn around and go, well, these gossipers and their job is very much it's salacious. It's always going to be sexy and overblown. And she isn't. I don't know if she's a football fan. I haven't got a clue about Clemmie Moody. She could be, she could have a Spurs tattoo on her chest, as far as I know. But what the point I'm making is would she know how to interpret a player going, hopefully I'll go to Manchester City correctly, if you know what I mean, by in terms of the broad scope of how a transfer, the process of a transfer. That's what I'm saying. Like, because she just got carried away, is what I'm saying, and
no
heard
chance.
Something and gone. Do you reckon?
No chance. It's too big. So that's funny. As you were talking, I looked at my phone. So I'm relatively reliably informed she was at the wedding. So she's got it from the horse's. Well. She's got it from the horse's mouth. Yeah.
Cheers,
if she's got it from the horse's mouth, then it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? It's basically facts. Yeah.
How does this go down at a wedding? How does Harry Kane bring it up during the best man speech? It just seems like it's. I'm sure it's relevant in some way, but it's.
Do you know what I think? I think that what's happened is she's had that conversation at the wedding, right? She's come back to her desk and she's gone, that's a massive story. And she's gone back to Charlie and she's gone, I want to write this. Can I write it? And I suspect that he's gone, yeah, do it. Now, the question that I asked Sam on our podcast is, who benefits from this story? Will Spurs get more money? Will City have to pay less? Will it be easier for Kane to leave? Like, what's the who's the winner in this? So I'm asking you the same question, Steve. Who wins here? Like, for this, let's say that privately Levy said to Charlie and to Harry last week, fine, this is the tipping point with the fee. We're going to let you go, right? Who wins?
I think what I would say if I was Daniel Levy and I was going to sign this player, it'd be, instead of one big plaster off, painful, blah blah blah, I would probably do the whole death by 1,000 cuts thing, in terms of, like, I would make it probably slowly known in the public that we probably are comfortable with selling Kane. So when it comes to it, the Spurs fans have already accepted it. And I would say that's why I would see it. And basically, I would drip feed the idea that we're going to get loads of money. And I think the 160 million thing, for example, is a good example of making it feel like Spurs have got an incredible deal, which is a lot of money, to fair. I don't think it is that, but I would suggest Spurs trying to control the narrative and accepting, like, that they're actually, making it an easier thing to manage, basically, because you see a lot of resignation among Spurs fans already, and I think that's telling for me. Like, I think there is a lot of resignation, and the more you see these little things, the more they accept it, the more they go, well, or whatever. Whereas if it came out of the blue randomly, I reckon, no pun intended, I reckon it'd be harder for them to take. So I think Spurs benefit from it a little bit. I think it's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they're all in on it. Like, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Harry Kane definitely benefits from it, and Charlie Kane does. I mean, I think they're controlling perception as well. That's how I see it personally. By the way, a quick super chat, which I forgot to mention, from Sir Alan Mankpom. Fee has not been agreed. 160 million is no way the fee. The wages may have been agreed for Kane, but a fee has never been agreed. I think that's true, by the way. I think it's not 160 million, and I also think the fee hasn't been agreed, but there's an acceptance that this could happen. That's my personal opinion on that.
That's what I was told. That's what I was told. That the fee's not been agreed, but they've said that he can go. I want to say something, right? So, like, I see people getting really arsy about the fee, and I don't really understand why. I don't mean this to be churlish. It's not our money. We're not crowdfunding it. It's not like we've all got to put our hands in our pockets and pay for Harry Kane. Ultimately, that's the target that the club want, and they'll eventually agree a fee. And whether it's 120, 130, 140, 150, or 160, I don't really care. Like, I want the player, right? Like, if Harry Kane arrives and City win the Premier League next season and he's top scorer in the Premier League, not a single soul will be talking about his fee, whatever it is. So, I mean, I think the certainly for me, the big thing right now is, or the big thing was, and this is what I got told after the season ended, this comes down to Harry Kane and Daniel Levy. For this transfer to happen, Daniel Levy has to agree to let Harry Kane know. Harry Kane is the one that has to go and convince Levy to let him go. So that's basically what I've been waiting on. And when I got told earlier in the week, we're going back this week with another bid, that immediately made me think, all right, they must know that either they're close to a tipping point in terms of there's a number at which it'll definitely sell, or they must know privately that Kane's been told, all right, we're going to facilitate the sale if the numbers are right. And I think, I think if this story had broken, the weird thing is, and this is just me, maybe people will think that I'm mad. If this story had broken in a lot of what I would consider to be sports pages, I probably wouldn't have believed it. I'd have probably gone, that's an easy punt to take at this juncture. But the fact that it's come from, and Sam made a great analogy on transfer stories on our pod about Nathan Ake and where he heard Ake was happening from. And it's like sometimes random sources, right, are more reliable, because if they're not in the football media, they ain't got a vested interest in the story.
Yeah. It's just something they've heard. And that's it. It's like, and they're just sharing it. And yeah, I know you're totally right. I mean, Yeah, I think that's simple. I mean, I can't give any specific examples. I thought I had one in the back of my mind, but I can't. But in general, sometimes people just hear shit. They just hear shit. I'm not trying to be Mr. in the know here, but I remember when Bernardo was in Manchester. I just got a text from someone saying Bernardo Silva was in Manchester, by the way, and this is well before anything. And I just randomly heard it. I mean, obviously, I was doing what I did right then, but I remember thinking it was just so out of the blue. Sometimes you can just hear random stuff, and in this instance, Clemmy Moody, she might just be like, okay, well, I've heard this because I was chatting to his brother, who's his agent. And it couldn't be more. It couldn't be more reliably sourced.
She might be friends with Harry's wife. She might be friends with Harry's wife. You feel me? Like there's a lot underneath this story, which gives it more credence than it would normally have.
Yeah. I'm looking. Everyone's saying Fabrizio tweets. I'm just checking now and see what's Fabrizio tweeted. What's Mr. Tappin said today.
What I want to know is what Stu Brennan said, but carry on. After that, tell me what Stu Brennan said. I know that he's tweeted.
Well, Fabrizio said Tottenham are denying rumours about Kane set to join City. Daniel Levy wants to keep Kane. There's nothing agreed between clubs. Well, that's different. Of course, he wants to keep Kane. Probably. There's nothing agreed between clubs. Yes, we agree that. I mean, we got to look at the word choice, by the way. Manchester City 100%. Are interested, but there's no fee agreed. Only bid was 1 month ago. 100 million turned down. I think that's true, basically. You always got to look at the wording with these things. Spurs are denying rumours about Kane set to join Man City because that's probably true. He isn't set to join Man City. Like it's possible that they're negotiating, but it's always about. It's easy to go. Well, technically, we are. That's false. Because it's not 160 million, it's 150. So making it false. You know what I mean? So there's very loads of ways you can deny a report without denying the whole picture. Like people deny this specific report, and people forget that. Like it's not just about the whole picture. It's usually they deny a specific part of it. I haven't seen what Stu Brennan said. I'll check that as well. I also a couple of super chats I want to say. I want to just say thank you to as well. So Alan saying never believe the Sun. You know what? I'm not going to sit here and defend the Sun. They are obviously an absolute rag, but they are people. They're still human.
Martin Blackburn is one of the most. Yeah, Martin Blackburn is one of the most reliable City writers out there, and one of the nicest journalists I've ever dealt with.
I heard personally that he was briefed yesterday ahead of this coming out. For a reason. One thing, by the way, which people really need to pay attention to is yesterday, allegedly, what I've heard personally, is that 225 million figure. That was quoted in one tweet, for example, where it said, like, City accept that they have to spend possibly north or around 225 million to secure these two players. The reason for me that is interesting is because that's an awful lot of money. And if the club are briefing that, it's an acceptance that they're going to have to pay for it. And when you do the maths and break it down, it just looks exactly like what you'd expect to get for Kane and Grealish. 90 million for one player, 135 for another. It looks exactly what you'd expect, if I'm being honest.
Absolutely.
And I think both clubs, Villa and Spurs, would accept those fees as well. Martin Blackburn, he's surrounded by a mess over the Sun, but Martin Blackburn is part of the press pack that does get briefed on these things. And I know that as a fact, personally. The clubs do seek these stories to the journals that they like, and that's how it works.
Steve, can I just ask you? You just said that for a fact that Martin was briefed yesterday. Are you talking about the Nuno Mendes?
Fact that he gets briefed, but the Mendes one as well, and allegedly the one that came out just after all these stories. Like in preparation, because I heard a rumor personally that City knew that the rumor that City knew that this was going to come out. The wedding stuff and whatever, which is why Blackburn minutes later had all this stuff. It's controlling the narrative, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I'm not saying I'm right. People can take it with a pinch of salt if they want to, but this is the kind of thing that happens in football. It's all about controlling the narrative because it's important. It makes it easier for the fans. It makes it easier for the clubs. A lot of this is a PR game. As you said before. These things are important, aren't they? How the transfer is perceived. I'll see what Stuart Brennan said. What's he said? People mentioned.
I think he said. So he said that initially he said that City had said nothing. They'd not said anything off the record or on the record about this morning's story in the Sun. Spurs had denied the story, but I feel as though he's now done an article which says that the one thing City have said is that it won't be 160 million, or they won't pay that much.
That's true. That's probably true.
But I got told this morning to ignore any of the figures that were being bandied about. It wasn't really about the figures. It's about the fact that Levy is, like they're still negotiating the fee, but they're negotiating the fee because Levy and Kane have privately agreed that he can go.
Well, that's the thing. If it's going to come from anyone, like Kane and his brother or whatever, will know if Kane's gone. Look, all right. If you get the right money for it, you can go. Because and did you see him linked yesterday to that guy from Atalanta for like 50 million or whatever? It's a lot of, like, they are linked to that, and like that's a lot of money for a club that's got no money. And we're not just saying this, by the way, but Spurs are genuinely skinned. They owe the Bank of England an awful lot of money. They've lost out an awful lot last year. So do Arsenal for what it's worth, but Spurs are really skinned, and they've also lost money from all the NFL games that they usually host and all that kind of stuff. They've lost an awful lot of money. So they need it. Spurs, as you said before, they are a selling club. They are, we can talk about, and you've got a big thing about the perception of Levy in general. Like, I think he's, he has this.
It's just not. I think that we're actually like. Anybody who watches these videos knows that since the season ended, I've been pretty confident that Kane will get done. Right, I've said all along, I think this gets done, and I think that you can almost chart it backwards from today. And what I mean is, you go back a week. Nuno does his first press conference. They ask him directly 3 times, has Levy assured you that Kane won't be sold? He ducks the question every time. It would have been very easy for him to say, of course he's assured me of that. He's our player and he's on a long contract and we're not going to sell him. Yeah. But he said nothing of the sort. He literally ducked the question every time. That smelled like something is brewing. You go back to what Nemechka said the other day about leaving, almost identical to what Aguero said in March. I know they're bringing a top striker in. It would have been very hard for me to get games there. City actually letting Aguero go, like all of this stuff is not. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not. This isn't. I refuse to. Another thing. Manel Estiarte did an interview 2-3 weeks ago where he said, I said to Pep after the Champions League final, don't worry, this season is your masterpiece. So what did he mean by that? What did he mean by this season is your masterpiece? Obviously, he meant that you had one hand tied behind your back and you walked the Premier League and you got to the Champions League final and you won the Carabao and you nearly got to the FA Cup final too. So the idea that they go another season and go, you know what, Pep, pull another rabbit out of another hat. It's all so far-fetched for me. Pep signing in 2-year deal. Sorry?
It hurt the club. The Champions League final hurt the club. Apparently.
Of course it did.
It really hurt them. Like, people don't realise how much this little fire under. Like, the reason we're linked to 225 million pounds of players is because it really hurt.
I was sat with the City staff. This is not a lie. For the Champions League final, I had Ferran Soriano and Brian Marwood, the row behind me. I was surrounded by City staff. Brian Marwood was in tears at the final whistle. Like, that tells you everything you need to know. Of course they were hurt. Of course they were devastated. And I think something that's worth bearing in mind when we think about value and Pep and football and the team and the whole package, right? We did what we did without a number 9, right? I cannot tell you enough. Imagine Harry Kane had been in the number 9 position in that Champions League final. The entire game would have been totally different. You think about, I mean, there's just Harry's not sexy, right, in the way that Haaland is. So I get it. There's some resistance. But on a footballing level, on a footballing tip, you can't argue with this. You really, really, really can't argue with this. If City get Harry Kane through the door, it is an absolute game changer. And
he improves the team. It's as simple as that. He does. That's it. I mean, he scores penalties for one, which is fucking useful. That's already worth its weight in gold, But he does improve the team. He does get someone on the end of the De Bruyne's crosses. I've been relatively not is critical the right word? I don't know. A little bit down on the transfer because I to me, as a 35-year-old Manchester City fan, I've seen a lot. And not everything, but I've seen an awful lot. And I guess the point is I look for my own narratives in football now, just because that's how I enjoyed the game. I like things to be fresh and exciting. And Kane, to me, isn't too fresh. That's not his fault, but that's my view on it. But I can't deny, as a logical football fan, that Kane is a fantastic footballer and that he, of course, improves our team. So, I mean, that is the simple underlining thing of this whole thing. Harry Kane is a better player, a better striker than anything we've got now. It's as simple as that. People would go, where he's gone. He's not a Manchester City player anymore. So right now, Harry Kane is by far a better striker. It's not even close. It's absolutely, it's on another level if he comes to Manchester City. And yes, if he plays, he scores 30 to 35 to 40 goals for City next season. That, even regardless of what I think of Kane, that I can't deny that. I just can't deny that. I think it's as simple as that, in my opinion. By the way, a couple of super chats. Abdullah saying, are we going to sign anyone this summer? Big love to Abdullah, by the way. Mate, of course we are. We are signing. It's just simple answer, mate. And we're probably going to sign the guy we're talking about right now. But City, look, I don't know the answer.
Why are people so pessimistic? Why are people so pessimistic? Why is it that we've been the most successful club in the Premier League over the last decade? That we've won, 3 out of the last 4 Premier League titles? That we've got the best coach on the planet? The best coach on the planet who pulled a rabbit out of a hat and had us breeze the Premier League without a number 9. And yet people think that, it's all in a flow of shit.
Do you know what Pep's problem is? He's normalised brilliance to the point where people are so used to win the Premier League that they're almost not excited by it anymore. Not everyone, of course, but some people don't really. That ain't normal. It isn't normal to win all these domestic trophies. It isn't. It's brilliant, and that is success. And anything else is a bonus. I mean, I don't know. I think we're in for a rude awakening one day. By the way, when this guy, shuffles off to somewhere else, that's going to be a lot more painful. It won't be near 100 points and whatever. It'll be very different. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I think we'll be surprised. Another super chat, by the way. Vize saying, I know this isn't related to Kane, but what's your opinion on City being in for Elaine Mariba? Good player. I really like him. What I've seen of him, he's fantastic. Who knows? The skin, I would take it. He's a very good player from what I can see. You got any opinions on Mariba? Have you heard much about him?
I know that Graham Hunter rates him really highly. I know that a few other people who I respect rate him really highly, and I think that it's odd that after the impact that he had when he did play, that he finds himself in the B team and that they're trying to strong arm him into signing a contract. Having said that, I would say that I've seen a lot of quotes from his dad saying that he got, we were meant to go to Manchester to tour the facility, and no, that didn't happen because he only wants to play for Barcelona. So it might well be that this is all a negotiating ploy for him to get the contract that he wants, and there's games being played. And also, similar position to Romeo Lavia, would that be a fair thing for me to say?
I think he's more Pogba-y, I think he's a bit more like, he seems a little bit more attacking. A little bit fine. I haven't been honest, but looks very, very talented. All I've done is watch the odd clip here and there and stuff. And I remember he was linked about a year ago quite heavily, so I did a video on him. But he seems really, really talented. Like he'd suit the game over here as well. But yeah, we'll see, man. He's a good player. And Patrick, by the way, I think we'd all like a fountain of youth for Sergio. Of course we would, mate. Of course we would. By the way, imagine the hype of a young Sergio Aguero joining now. Oh, that'd be incredible, wouldn't it? Haaland 22. Well, mate, who knows, man? What I will say, Patrick, is if we didn't get Kane, you're fucking damn right we're getting someone big the year after. So it's a win-win either way, in my personal opinion. Big love to Patrick as well for the comment. And I think there's another one here somewhere. Achinchia saying, what are the chances of Kane deal turning into another Koulibaly? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think.
Can I explain why it's nothing like Koulibaly?
And I think they've got the same reasons for you, because I think it's not him or someone else. It's him. Is it as simple as that? In my opinion, yeah.
Yep. There isn't a list of 5 centre forwards who are all much of a muchness, and City are going to do the best deal that they can and pick the player who they get the best deal for. Last summer, Koulibaly, Koundé, Diaz, for them, in their opinion, it was all much of a muchness, and the best deal that they could do, somebody that would take a player, fine, you'll do that. This is a personal request of Pep Guardiola. Harry Kane is a personal request to Pep Guardiola. It's totally different. They know There is no backup, and I know that people don't like to hear that. There isn't a Harry Kane backup. If City don't get this over the line, they won't sign a number 9.
There's a couple of people apparently they've looked at, but they're just not keen. They're just like,
no, they're just not. They're just
yeah, that's it. As simple as that. I think it's just like they want Kane. The thing is, I wonder, right? Like, Kane's not silly either. Kane knows if whatever reason he didn't come through this year, he's got to compete with another striker or Haaland as a potential target, and all of a sudden he might become less appealing for whatever reason because Haaland becomes cheaper. He just does because of that release fee clause. Kane's got to push this. If Kane wants to go to Manchester City, I think he has to push this. It's not now or never, but it's definitely a lot less likely if he has to wait another year, in my opinion. So I think Kane has to push this. Surely, like, is that a fair presumption?
Absolutely. I think also this transfer is quite long in the tooth, and what I mean by that is that this game started over a year ago, and I don't know if I've said this on one of your videos before, but you know, from what I understand, actually what happened last summer was dead simple. They were doing Kane, and then Leo picked up the phone and called Pep, and they kind of shifted targets, and then Leo didn't happen, and Pep was just absolutely furious, and it's why City have got no interest in going back for Leo, and it's why it's Kane or bust this summer, because I expect that Guardiola also feels like he owes it to Harry Kane to go and get that deal done. And I think the wider point about next summer, I think it will be a year too late. I think Pep's got 2 years left on his deal. Yeah. He wants it. We need a 9 this summer. Yeah. Harry Kane is the player that he wants and has wanted for 12 months. And I think that for all of those reasons, I think he's going to end up getting the player that he wants. And look, you know, I think the whole Haaland thing has really, really, really messed with people's perceptions of what Harry Kane actually is, because I just see everywhere the lack of enthusiasm at getting Kane in, and the kind of almost, you know, cloying fanboying over Haaland, which is just to me, I'm like this. Who knows, man? Maybe City know for a fact that Dortmund won't sell this summer. Yeah. Maybe City have decided that they'd rather give Pep what he wants than to basically override him and go for a player that he doesn't want, not because he doesn't want him, but because he wants somebody else, if that makes sense. And the last thing, which I think is probably the biggest underestimation of City as a football club, is there's nothing stopping City from buying Haaland next summer, even if they buy Kane this summer. There's really genuinely nothing stopping them from doing that. Harry Kane's what, 20? He'll be 28 when he joins. This is just my opinion, but I think that Kane will probably at some point end up playing a little bit deeper. If you look at his passing range, if you look at his all-round footballing ability, there'll be a point at which he probably won't be a focal point and a 9 anymore. And just the fact that there's a buyout next summer. So it's not like you're having to spend 200 million euros to sign Haaland. You're paying 70, 80 because that's what the buyout is. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm not saying that City are going to do that or even thinking about doing it. I'm just saying that for me, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. And if you look at squad building, I think that Gabriel Jesus is going to end up going, whether it's this summer or next summer. And we're going to need 2 9s. Simple. We're going to need 2 9s. And if we get Kane this summer, we may well go and buy another one next summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. And it could be that as well. You know, maybe the lap steps up or whatever. Who knows? But like, I think the Jesus thing is it's true. I think the whole Juventus stuff, Juventus are just cheaping out a little bit. Which I wouldn't be surprised if City were more receptive to some of the short-term, cheaper options if Kane came in, because simply then we've got a spare part or something. I don't know. I do think it's interesting though how this is going to play out over the next couple of weeks. I mean, I think people need to be patient as always. They do. Sure. I think City are from what I personally heard. One thing, people can take a pinch of salt if they want to. It's fine. I'm not bothered either way. Is that City really, and you said it before, really focused on Kane, which is it really is not to the extent of Kane or bust, but it's not far off that. Basically, it is Harry Kane is the guy they want, and I think Spurs know this. I think Spurs are aware of the realities of it. I think Spurs realise actually that sometimes you just have to move on from a certain player and maybe get the money in that they might not be able to get next season because they'll be aware of the market and how it can develop as well. They might be going, what if Ferran Torres does really well next season, or Liam Delap becomes a superstar, or Haaland becomes available? Then no one's going to buy 140 million for Kane or whatever. They'll be aware of that as well. And they might be like, oh, well, we get to keep him. But they might go, we need the kind of money. And at the end of the day, they're a business. They are skin. These are the things that they'll have to consider as well. A couple of super chats, by the way. Oh, see City Forever saying, great video, guys. Thanks, Stephen Ahsan. We'll catch the pod later. Martin, you're a top bloke. Thank you so much. Martin's a top dude. As well, another comment. Where's he from? Sterling Silva. Haaland's never going to go away. He's going to be mentioned forever. Wouldn't Haaland make more sense in terms of age? Yeah, well, yes. Is it City because don't want to deal with Raiola? Is it Haaland's personality? No, it's not. I don't think it's those things. It's
just that Pep wants Kane.
Pep wants Kane, yeah. And it's also Haaland's really expensive. And Dortmund don't need to sell him. And I think Pep wants Kane, and Pep's got a couple more years left. I think Pep probably I think City owe it to Pep as well, to be honest. I think they
definitely
do.
After what happened last summer.
Yeah, I think honestly they promised him they'll get someone, and then they didn't happen. And last year he was expecting a striker. And also, by the way, we've done it a couple of times with him as well. We did it with we're going to sign a centre back. Didn't get one for a year. That he's not. He did it twice to him. Like you can't do it 3 years, three times. No. Over 5 years, it's too much. You have to replace these key players. And to be honest, they have to replace them not just for Pep, just because we actually need it. We actually need it as well. Kane this year, Haaland next. Yes, please. That's the dreamland. I don't think it's going to happen personally, but you know what? Stranger things have happened. It'd be quite.
Never underestimate City. Never underestimate City. I think one of the things that I've learned is that the club operate sensibly. Yeah, there's no question about that. They try and operate sensibly. They try not to have the piss taken out of them, but also, don't forget, we had Carlos Tevez, Mario Balotelli, Sergio Aguero, and Edin Dzeko as 4 centre forwards, right, in the squad. The club will be well aware of both Guardiola's time at the club and what a post-Pep landscape might look like. The squad might be put into a position over the next 2 years to counterbalance the shock of Guardiola leaving. So I don't, I pull it out of my arse to a certain extent when I say they could go and sign Haaland next summer, but the club can do that. Manchester City Football Club are look, they're a multi-billion pound football group. You understand what I mean? Like they're bigger than everybody else. Whether you're I'm not talking about fans or anything like that, but just in terms of your financial base, there's nobody bigger and stronger than City. So I don't think that I'm not saying it's happening. I'm not even saying that, I'm just saying that it's not something that I would ever, there's some things that I would go, well, that's just never going to happen. Yeah. This idea, because he's got a release clause next summer, because of Alfie, because of all of those things, it wouldn't shock me.
Same. It would. I mean, anything surprising. Nothing surprises me in football is what I'll say. Stuart Bennett, by the way, has tweeted. He's updated his article a little bit. Basically, when City had let their feelings known about the 160 million, saying it's nonsense, Stuart Bennett has clarified, saying we're pointing out that this is not contesting the Sun's claim that Daniel Levy has cleared the way for Kane to leave. I have no information on that. It was just it was the fee that was outrageous and prompted response from City. No one's denying that kind of stuff. But that's the point. It's not about everyone's denying the fee. And that is set to be done. People aren't denying that the permission has been, not permission, that the gentleman agreement has been you can leave if you get the right thing. What I will say is I've seen so many people join the comments going, the Fabrizio tweet said it's not happening. People really need to watch how read between the lines of what isn't said and what is said, because they're taking things far too literally. So let's go to that Fabrizio tweet again. What he said is Tottenham are denying rumours about Harry Kane set to join Manchester City. Basically, Tottenham are denying that it's about to happen. That's the translation, which is probably true. Doesn't mean they're denying he's going to Manchester City. It means they're denying it's probably going to happen tomorrow or whatever. It's all about interpretations, and they can deny that without we'll say, well, we were right. It isn't about to happen. is discussing it, but it's about to happen. The next part of that tweet, Daniel Levy wants to keep Kane. Yeah, of course he fucking does. Doesn't mean he's going to. Doesn't mean he's not going to sell him. There's nothing agreed between clubs. That's also true. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So you got to be careful how you read these and take them so literally. And the last part of that tweet says City are interested, but there's no fee agreed. That's true. Doesn't mean it isn't going to happen, but that's true too. One bid was turned down a month ago. That's probably true as well. But people take things far too literally when you've got to realize actually they choose words for a reason. They deny parts of a story, but it doesn't mean the whole thing, the bigger picture, isn't true. And people get far too taken in by this, like by the bigger thing, and not read the specific wording. Like, yes, Spurs are denying rumours that Kane's about to join. Basically, someone would have got in touch with I don't know, the comms team and gone, is Kane about to sign for Manchester City? No. Because he isn't. He isn't about to sign Manchester City. He could do, but he's literally no fees agreed. So that's technically true on their behalf. But it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, I think people get far too... They just take things on the surface.
Absolutely.
Literally.
I think, it's also telling that... if you look, you've got Charlie Eccleston and Alistair Gold and one other guy who got the Spurs brief like early this morning, and the wording was exactly the same, right? And that was that like Spurs' position hasn't changed. They don't intend to sell Harry Kane this summer, right? Now, what's telling for me is who's not run with that brief. So way more... The Spurs are way more represented in the media than the Manchester clubs are because they're in London, because there's so many journalists down there that are close to Spurs, that all close to Kane, all that sort of stuff. I suspect the reason why Matt Law, Sam Wallace, like just the lads at the Mail, like the reason why nobody is running with Spurs brief is because they've probably stood up from somewhere part of the Sun story. Or at the very least, they know where that story's come from and they know that most of it is accurate. And therefore, they don't need to do that. They don't need to, go in a bat for Daniel Levy in the way that Ornstein does or the way that Alistair Gold does. I mean, for me, it feels, I've said all along, it feels like KDB, it feels like Sterling, it feels like Walker. It feels like a transfer that is going to get done. And this just makes me even more comfortable with that opinion.
We've talked about this before as well. I think, but basically, it's worth. I've not talked about you, I don't think, but it's worth looking at the specific briefings. What I will say is, people pay attention to Simon Bukowski and Stuart Brennan at the Manchester Evening News and Martin Blackburn and Jack Gordon. These are the ones that are always briefed because they are the Northern correspondents. And look at them, what they deny and what they confirm always, because it's really interesting, because these are the ones that get the word from the club, from the comms team, once again, to control the message and all that kind of stuff. They denied, they've all come out and said, City are not interested in Mendes, City are not interested in Ings, City are not interested in Lewandowski, City are not interested in Griezmann. There's been none of that for Grealish and Kane. And the fact that they haven't mentioned those names and haven't denied those rumours tells me everything that you need to know, that this is something that City feel they can do. And they're not going to come out and deny it because it's true. Like, City are interested in these players. So, I mean, people need to pay attention to the right sources for this kind of stuff because those people are telling. And in this instance... I mean, it's interesting. Time Sports, Gary Jacobs said Harry Kane believes Spurs are willing to sell him this summer in what he considers a shift in the club's position. Spurs say they have no intention of selling, but Kane believes the club have changed their mind in recent weeks. That's very interesting, man. I don't know much about Gary Jacobs personally. What do you make of that? Is it pretty much what you just suspect, really?
I think that when you look at the Times and you look at the broadsheets in general, transfer stories, they try and be as well sourced as they can be. I think that the two sides of the fence right now, and I think it's a really important distinction, right, is that I don't think Daniel Levy is talking. So I don't think that Daniel Levy has spoken to anybody in the media since this story broke. What's happened is they're ringing the club's press office, and the press office is going, our position hasn't changed, and we don't comment on speculation. End of conversation, right? Yeah. So that's fine. You have to give that its space within the story. And then you call the other side and you go, hey, Charlie, this story in the Sun, is it true? Has Levy told you that you can go? And he's gone, yeah, we had a conversation last week and it's cool. He said Harry can go. They're negotiating with Spurs. So for the sake of journalistic standards, whatever you want to call it, they will report both sides. But let's be clear, if Daniel Levy had spoken to a journalist, he would absolutely comment on the specific detail that he told them they can go. Do you know what I mean? That's a big thing for them to run with, the idea that Harry Kane is delighted because Daniel Levy has said that he can go. Well, the first thing that Daniel Levy would do, if that weren't true, would be to pick up the phone and go, it is absolutely categorically not true that Kane has been told that he can leave. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that.
All they're denying is that he's about to go, or that the fee has been agreed. That's all they're denying when you read between the lines. The Gary Jacob thing just reinforces the sense that this is happening now. That Kane's been told, okay, you can go, we'll negotiate with City. The dance is being danced. Obviously, publicly, they'll deny it until they get to a fee that they can have a headline figure that they can hold up and go, look, we got this much. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say, just to go back. The Sun story says specifically that Harry Kane put a transfer request in earlier this summer. Those two things, the fact that Levy has said he can go and he put a transfer request in, if Daniel Levy had spoken to anybody, he'd deny both of those things straight off the bat. I'm telling you, if that weren't true, he'd be straight on the phone going, that's not true. He's not put a transfer request in, and there's no way that I've told him that he can go. Those two things haven't happened. Instead, what you've got is like, here's something for you to do. Look at the Fabrizio Romano tweet, right? Remove Daniel Levy and put Manchester City in the name bit, and remove Harry Kane and put Leroy Sané in the player's name bit. More or less, that's what you were getting out of the media before Leroy was sold. We don't want to sell him. Yeah, we've not agreed a fee. He's not for sale. We don't want to sell him. They sold him. Everybody knew they were going to sell him. He knew they were going to sell him. Like it was an open secret. So it's the game, man. It's the game, isn't it? It has to be that way because they all have to play it. And I mean, to be honest, even Spurs have to do this. They have to look tough because absolutely destroy their credibility. They just do. And like, I mean, I have no feelings for Daniel Levy at all. But he can't be there going, "Yep, come for it. We're a fucking open shop. Come and sign our players." He has to make it look difficult. To be honest, there's an element as well. He might have made his mind up a month ago it's going to happen, but he has to make it drag. Mainly because financially they'll benefit from it. They will get a few more million out of it, but also because the perception. They have to. They literally have to make it drag on. There's no benefit from Spurs for getting it done quickly. There isn't.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
So another thing, right? And loads of people have said this, but it's worth reinforcing. Like, how are you going to let Aguero go and tell him that you're bringing a first choice striker in without knowing that you're bringing a first choice striker in? Do you know what I mean? Like they don't trust Daniel Levy enough to go, all right, Con, you can go in March and we'll take our chances with Levy. This transfer is long in the tooth, man. It really is. It's not one day somebody will write a book and it will come out, but I'm fairly sure that this goes back to January, February, that, you know, this dance began properly months ago and Kane got told ages ago, fine, there's a tipping point, and at a certain tipping point you can go this summer. It's come out now. I agree with you. Like when I asked the question about why has this come out now, I think it's the death by 1,000 cuts thing. I think that they have to condition the supporters. I think if you look at their supporters' reaction to Nuno's press conference, the intelligent ones were going, he's gone. It's obvious he's gone. He's been asked 3 times. He's a Spurs
player still. You know, that was it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's been asked 3 times directly, has Levy assured you that he won't be sold? Because that's what the briefs were. When they were talking to Conte, when they were talking to whoever, everybody was right. And all the managers have been told that Kane's not going to be sold. So, of course, Nuno in the first press conference gets asked, did you get told that Kane ain't being sold? He ducked that question. Like, that's not conditioning City fans. That's conditioning Spurs fans. There's no way that the comms team,
City fans are watching that,
spoken about it. Exactly. No.
Fabrizio, what's he just tweeted? No, nothing new. Someone said he had. It's the all same old stuff. Hey, Sam, let's leave it there, man. Let's leave it there. 1,000 people watching, by the way. What I will say, go check out the 9320 pod. And I'm going to go live on Twitch, by the way. So if anyone's going to chat away with me, I'll be live at twitch.tv/Esteemed.
Get to Twitch.
Join me afterwards.
Follow him.
And
9320. Go to 9320. Sorry, can I just say, go to 9320 pod. Go to 9320 pod. Follow the Twitter account. Sign up to 9320 player if you're interested in more of me, more of Sam, more of the other contributors that we've got.
It's wonderful.
We'll be doing pods. We do 3-4 pods every single week.
It's
personally
considered informative. I think it is. It's considered informative, and it always makes me feel better after a big moment or whatever. So go listen to it. The lads over there, fantastic. Howard, witty, dour, brilliant. Ahsan, passionate, informative. Lloyd, measured, calm. Stefan, just a financial genius who knows everything about the actual important stuff. It's a wonderful team over there. Joe, effervescent, energetic, passionate. They're all fantastic lads over there. Go and check it out. The 9320 pod. There's a link in the description. Follow him on Twitter there, and come and join me as well over at twitch.tv/Esteemed Kompany. For more chat, we'll do a big Q&A over there as well. I'll see you there literally in like 5 minutes. Go over there, go follow Ahsan, go follow at 9320 pod, 9320 pod, and go download their latest podcast as well with Sam Lee. It's fantastic, no doubt. Guys, I'll see you again in 5 minutes. Ahsan, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you to everyone watching. See you later, guys. Have a wonderful day and stay patient. I've said it a billion times. As good as it gets, this, honestly. Trust me. See you in a bit. Bye-bye.